Hello everybody, it's your old friends and Monday Madness, and welcome to the latest edition of Click the Thing, where we are clicking the things on some of the best point-and-click games that have ever been made. And I can tell you right now, we picked a good one. I'm joined in the room, not physically, but spiritually, with by Burkbot and starting to making his debut on this series, Hurdle Durdle Nordling. How are you doing, man?
Well,
Of course.
Big debut whenever we did the that one paintings.
the painting.
Game thing. You're gonna have to be more specific, James.
We did voice acting over all of them. It was like all these famous paintings through time, and we got to like go absolutely hung wild on puzzle solving and Black Arrow.
That was the whole group.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, no, this is specifically just for Burkbot to get her point and click game going on, and yeah, this is exactly the case here because you wanted some more LucasArts goodness, and you're getting it. This is remarkably one of the more obscure titles over the years, but is still absolutely full of quality. Well, it was well timed. This is The Dig. As I kind of alluded to when we. What was that?
I dig it.
You will dig it because it's quite a fun game. So, to give you the preamble, in case you're wondering from the opening sequence, there's basically a big fuck off asteroid coming to hit Earth. It is destined. It is a collision course. So, we are playing the team that is going to aim to try and deflect the comet away from Earth because it's too big to destroy.
Is 99%. 5, 4, ignition, 2, 1.
Don't know.
What's
Here,
this?
Something's happening here. So a rocket is. So I presume there's a rocket going up to deflect the asteroid away.
Yeah. I think it's
This is space shuttle.
In the asteroid.
If the shuttle is the last hope of
So this is the actual the team that is going to do it.
Okay.
Wait a minute, folks.
Some good animation style so far. Kind of that
Nuclear brink is another
familiar enough.
Right from G.I. Joe.
I think it's quite familiar to the Warner Brothers style of animation. Like I'm getting the big like animated Batman vibes off the style here.
Yeah. I was gonna say Broken Sword.
Yep, it would have been a similar engine actually, or at least a similar type of artistry. Because well, I think we'll probably talk about the technical stuff later, but it would have been done with a similar style. I think this predates Broken Sword by a year or two, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Now you're under NASA command.
Miss Robbins is a reporter by vocation, but on this mission she's...
I think I can.
So, in case you're wondering, one of those voices is indeed very familiar. The main character, Boss and Low, is voiced by Mr. Robert Patrick, who you might know better as Terminator 2 or the T-1000, if you prefer.
That may be the biggest news story.
He was also in the X-Files and Sons of Anarchy. So quite a distinctive voice in that, but I think this is his only video game credit, as far as I know.
While it's well known that Mandy is a prodigy at learning new languages, is this
Team
just
Festival Sons of
coincidence?
Anarchy as well.
Yeah, he's done a few kind of gigs around over the years. Like he always kind of pops in for like one-off like appearances, but in terms of like his regular gigs, I think the X-Files certainly is the one that comes to mind because he was basically Mulder's stand-in for a season.
I don't have to be
Interesting.
I just have
Yeah.
to be careful. The other two crew members will remain with the shuttle. Ken Borden...
I even like the intro and how it's kind of jumping between the screens. It's very cinematic, Mr. Lucas.
As you all know...
Yes, well, there is certainly a pedigree to this game, as we alluded to in the previous playthrough. But yeah, so this the actual game itself, the premise was actually a short story written by Steven Spielberg. Basically, in the 80s, there were Steven Spielberg had done a series. I think they're called Unexpected Stories or something along those lines. Kind of like Twilight Zone-esque type of pilots, essentially. And each episode is a story unto itself, and it's all self-enclosed story. And basically, The Dig was one of the kind of pitches that was essentially rejected or didn't make the cut. for that series. There's only like 20 episodes, and basically it's all like they're all different, like directed by different people. It's a kind of similar structure to what Black Mirror is now, where you have the initial premise, it's written and taken over by certain directors and producers, and they're all just different stories unto themselves.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now that's not the only thing about it, in fact. So, as I said, so the main character is voiced by Robert Patrick, but the other star turn in this game is actually the writer. This is actually written by Orson Scott Card, who is known for being the writer of the Ender's Gate series, I think it is, if I remember correctly. Let's see, just confirm that. Yep, Ender's Game. He's the novelist behind the entire Ender's Game series, so he's very well versed in sci-fi writing. So this is very much up his alley. But yeah, so this in case you wonder the rest of the cast, because there is only 5 people in it essentially. So obviously we have Robert Patrick, as we mentioned before. Mary Weiss plays Maggie Robbins, who was the kind of seen as the sassy number 2, if you like. Not really. You wouldn't really know her from much else unless you watch Mad Men. She was in an episode of that, and the American Shameless. The German fellow there who's talking now is Ludger Brink. He's played by Steve Bloom, who pretty much plays every villain in any anime ever. Like, like he's one of those ubiquitous like voice actors that pops up in everything. But I suppose his most prominent role, if you like, he's the voice of Spike from Cowboy Bebop. So a lot of people know him from that, but also he's done tons of other fucking stuff. Like I think he generally has one of the most incredible pedigrees I've seen when it comes to voice acting. So you'll certainly you don't quite recognize the voice in this one because he's like obviously putting on an accent, but he's done tons of stuff. So the other 2 characters who are on the ship are Leilani Jones, who plays Cora Miles, and she was in Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Father, or rather,
yes, recognized the name when you said it.
So she's appeared in that. So second time on this channel, and then Kim Borden is played by a fellow called David Lodge, who is basically just an extra in a lot of things. Also a voice actor as well. So not quite a human name, but again, Robert Patrick's the biggest draw in terms of the crew there. So
Fair enough.
and that's basically the preamble. So yeah, the game basically starts off as this. Your mission is to basically deflect a comet that has been renamed Attila, essentially because of the kind of, I suppose, the marauding. Yeah, yeah. Stun hunt is a phrase I'd use. It's probably the most lethal hun you can find, to be honest. But here we are. That yeah, actually that's fair.
Okay, so the pig is the shuttle.
No, the pig is the toolbox that's sitting in the loading bay of the shuttle there. It basically has all their kind of like whatever equipment they need and their explosives as well. But it literally just is called a pig because of the shape of it.
Okay.
Yep. No, there's nothing more complicated than that, thankfully.
Do some of them throw up? Is that what you want me to do?
Okay, so already some of the gags and some of the jokes here, I am all for. It's very LucasArts.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, like this is actually like an incredibly short game by LucasArts standards. I think they definitely pride themselves on trying to do it all on one disc, as opposed to the kind of industry standard at that time, which was to have it over multiple discs. Like I think Gabriel Knight came on 2 discs, possibly. I think some of the King's Quest was heavily compressed to get onto CDs. And I think even some of I think this would have been the transition from like floppy disk to CDs. So they definitely pride themselves on trying to get everything all on one disc. So, and they did a smashing job of it, incidentally, because it's so hard to. Because what they did essentially was they did CGI a lot of the stuff, and then heavily compress it to get onto CD. But what I did do is I did try and maximize as much of the dialogue as I can. Get that kind of like trademark LucasArts writing, because essentially if you just like basically went from bell to bell, solve all the puzzles with no fanfare, the game is done in about 2.5 hours. It's actually an incredibly quick game.
That's not how I play.
No, I felt like I wanted to be representative. Now, in fairness, it didn't really prioritize the dialogue in this game. So what they basically repeat a lot of points each time, but it's the kind of thing where like if you're in this area, these are the dialogue prompts, and then when you move to the next area, you have another set, but they could be the same ones from the last one, kind of way.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with this. This is technically, I won't say it's technically, but it's used a similar kind of game design to a game called Loom, which was released a couple of years before this, and essentially it's kind of the same thing, same engine, same kind of dialogue structure and all that sort of stuff, and very kind of puzzle oriented. But Loom is also extremely short but extremely sweet. It's a lovely little game, also made by LucasArts. So they definitely prioritize quality over anything else, especially with something like this where it's a very nice self-contained story. Now,
Yeah,
I'm sure
this was never made into a sequel, or there was no prequel done of it.
Nope. They turned it into a film called Armageddon.
Armageddon precedes this, I think. Well, actually, Armageddon was out in 1998, so this actually gets ahead of the Armageddon, funny enough. But I think in fairness, this is there any connection between Armageddon and?
Maybe if somebody helps you figure out the levers in the voting booth.
Well, the screenplay is written by J.J. Abrams, so he probably robbed it. That checks out. Oh, and the director was Michael Bay. How convenient. Yeah, he definitely robbed it then. But yeah, in fact, also the incredible thing is all the 3D stuff here, and even the sequence here you're seeing, was actually done by Industrial Light and Magic, which who you will know from doing all of the Star Wars action scenes and anything Lucasfilm oriented. They always go to Industrial Light and Magic. They are the industry standard. So they did actually lend their skills to this game for the 3D sections.
You just be good to my baby.
Everything else, yeah, everything else 2D wise is all on the original game engine, which is called Scum.
Yes, the Scum engine.
Yeah, which basically was Lucasfilm's LucasArts just bog standard engine that they used for pretty much all of their games until they moved to 3D.
At the same time they were doing this, they were doing Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like this was the games. Like this is the fascinating thing about LucasArts is that LucasArts was always seen as the fun side gig to Lucasfilms. So like there was always a nice little bit of crossover. Like they were also kind of like they were really the fun side gig, but also the ginger stepchild of the whole operation. Like if you listen to any of the kind of the original Monkey Island team, like Tim Schafer and a few other individuals that kind of Brian Moriarty was another one as well. They all basically just kind of mentioned how they kind of almost like allowed to work on site on LucasArts and Lucasfilms and in ILM, but they were never kind of treated with any kind of like what's the word? Kind of like there's no weight behind the words, if you like. They were just kind of seen as a bit of like, all right, the kids are playing in a little sandbox. Let's let them have their fun, without kind of realizing that they were making perhaps some of the best cinematic games you'll ever find. Is kind of remarkable, really. But the advantage of basically having the kind of creative and editorial freedom. The only rule they were allowed, they were told when they were made, when the studio was founded, was don't do any Star Wars games. That was the only rule that the studio had to follow. That was it.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, I think the only tie-in that LucasArts actually do is an Indiana Jones game, which is a platformer, and I think that was one of their first works. But since then, they basically doubled down into their point-and-click games, starting off with Monkey Island and Maniac Mansion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've just entered a new
minigame.
Yep. Basically, yeah, you have like a little asteroid lander arcade game if you ever want to play it during the game.
Miles here.
So were you able to control that?
Yeah, I
Or-
was. I just kind of showed it off for the sake of the playthrough. It's just a fun mini game. It's like that asteroids. There's nothing more to it really.
Okay, cool. I just,
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Hilarious enough
Like-
when I was saying there
Like for your
that
Pokemon.
what's that?
Like making the sandwich for your Pokemon.
Yeah, a little bit. Except that like the sandwich actually serves a function. the asteroid lander was just a distraction in case you needed to, stall for time while trying to figure out the puzzle.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you can kind of you're probably wondering at this stage, surely it doesn't take them five hours to break open an asteroid. So the game is deliberately slow paced and composed to start off. So
Let's see if we can clear up old Attila's.
This is the asteroid that's coming out. What kind of speed in order to hit Earth?
well, it's not the speed is the problem, it's the trajectory. Like it was they basically were able to get to it up to a certain point where again the speed wasn't the issue. Like it was going to hit Earth one way or another, and for whatever reason, like basically when you hear all these kind of alarmist kind of articles like this asteroid's going to hit Earth in 3 years time, like save your children, whatever the fuck, there's normally a massive like margin for error, and obviously by the time it does hit Earth, it skips past us. It like the orbit.
Atmosphere, and it'll be little more than something that can fit in your pocket.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, it is like the Simpsons thing. Except sometimes the asteroid loses its cohesion. Sometimes it is purely because it at one point during the comet's path it was going to hit Earth, but then like 4 light years down the road, it's going somewhere else completely. The fear with this one was that this was absolutely 100% staying on Earth's path for whatever reason, which is in of itself suspicious. But obviously when they saw how big the comet was, it's like, okay, we actually do need to deal with this because this would actually annihilate Earth. So
yeah.
And I think they also established in dialogue that it can't like blow it up completely because there'd be too much debris hitting the atmosphere, and it would just cause a massive meteor shower that would wreck the planet. Likewise, it can't do it too much, or else is the risk colliding with the moon, which obviously will be just as bad for the Earth.
Go left if you want to go to space.
Pretty much, yeah. It's so again, the toughest puzzle of the game so far is trying to figure out where to put the bombs. Obviously, James, this is why we have you on board, because you're an expert in this field.
I don't know so much about fields. More cars.
Yeah, I know, but like
What this is missing is a vehicle for the bomb to be placed under.
Yeah. we can retrieve the pig. That we can put wheels on that if you want.
I think what actually should have happened is they should have put a Union Jack somewhere on it, and then there'd be a little Irish spaceman underneath that planting a bomb.
Yeah, to find out what.
In fairness, like they probably should have done that, but then they'd have to rename the comet to something like Churchill or something for something equally as destructive. So